Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show. Welcome in post-game live. Jesse Montano, Meghan Angley. Meghan, we said that it was going to be tough for the Avs to hold on to a 2-1 lead and eventually get that over the finish line. Well, that's exactly what they did. And my notes for that third period are a lot shorter because that was a pretty close to perfect third period for the Avs, maybe saved for about 45 seconds there. We'll talk about the entire game. We'll talk about the late push, the very late push in a really narrow window for the Red Wings. Otherwise, I think the Avs were fantastic. Meghan, your thoughts on that third period there in general?
You know, the score is the same as what we saw in that second period. And so to say that the Avs were dominant in the third period maybe isn't reflected accurately by that score. But I agree with your assessment of it. It was such a strong and controlled period from Colorado, giving Detroit room to do very little. I'm so happy with the adjustments they made. You know, I think I said something like, I want to see them not only dominate, but run away with it. I think, save for scoring more goals or converting on the empty net chance from McKinnon, that's exactly what they did in the third period. I'm really happy with that performance.
With 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go, the shots were 11-1 in the third period in favor of the Avs. Shot attempts were 20-7, and it stayed that way pretty much right down to the last 90 or so seconds. So let's actually go back to the start of this game for anybody that didn't jump on for any of our intermission reports and just kind of recap this one a little bit, Meghan, because like I said, in a positive way, a little bit of a boring third period. And I mean that in a good way. Avs come out early. I actually thought they were pretty good early on, weren't perfect, but I liked the overall start for the Avs. I thought the energy level was up. It looked like a team who was wanting to respond to a bad game. Not a bad game, a game that they wanted to be better in a couple nights ago in Carolina. And, you know, we talked about it. You said that you thought Georgiev was a little bit shaky early, but eventually settled in. Overall, I thought it was just a first period that you wanted, given that you're on the road looking for a bounce back game. Not something I've said a lot this season, Meghan. I liked the start for the Avs.
I really liked the start for the Avs. You know, the stat around goals against in the first period, I don't have it in front of me, but it was not favorable to Colorado. And so for them to not only get the first goal, but also just keep a lead going into that second period, adding another to that tally. And I talked about it, you know, a little with concern in that first period that Georgiev was absorbing pucks that he didn't fully see, but by the end of it, he was seeing pucks much better. That stayed true through the rest of the game, so he deserves a lot of credit for the Avs staying in this game. Actually, he deserves probably full credit because you look at some of the push from Detroit in the second period, and this could have been a very different score if not for some huge saves from Georgiev, better positioning, and so much more of a calm resolve in net. You know, absorbing pucks and then kick saves on the rebounds with some in-close chances on multiple occasions. Just a huge game from Georgiev.
Well, and, you know, you mentioned it in the first period that it felt like there were times where maybe he wasn't seeing pucks and they were still hitting him. And you made sure to mention, like, while it is concerning, you want him tracking that puck better. We gave Justus Annunen full marks for being positionally sound, letting pucks hit him. And I felt like Georgiev had a little bit of that going, and not dissimilar to what we've seen even in the game against Carolina, but the last two games for the Avs where Scott Wedgwood has come in, just some of those early saves have allowed the Avs to settle in and kind of find their game and not chasing right away. And I just think that can't quite be overstated how big just getting a few saves early on are. You and I both talked about the energy level from the Avs in the early going. I thought Ross Colton, while it wasn't, you know, he didn't come screaming off the page for you here tonight, I thought he was good. And I thought he made a difference for that energy levels, particularly on the second line, who I really did think all night, but it started in the first with a Val Nichushkin goal, just gave the Avs a little bit of that depth support so that not everything had to fall on those top guys.
So much bad has happened to the Avs this season that it feels so nice that Ross Colton not only returned a little bit ahead of the timeline that we were given, but he looks good. He doesn't even really look like he's adjusting, and his minutes by the end of the night really didn't need to be sheltered. He played the completion of what the second line role demanded of him, and I don't know. I think he did jump off the page a little bit with some net front chances that were incredibly dangerous, set up oftentimes by Val Nichushkin, driving to the net front, battling for pucks along the wall, blocking shots. Given the nature of what kept him out of the lineup, I'm glad to see that he's not showing any reservations in doing that, throwing the body around a little bit. Absolutely injected some life back into this team. I know I sound like a broken record too, but his presence was not only felt just in the more balanced attack, in the usage of at least the top nine, which I have some comments on, but similarly, it's a much better night for the second line as a whole. Val Nichushkin gets going. It feels like he's been building towards that, but Casey Middlestat, I don't know that he's completely out of this rut that he's been in, but I can't help but feel like all of these things fed into one another. Ross Colton bringing the energy, and Val Nichushkin's game starting to put the puck in the back of the net. And now Casey Middlestat, he is getting puck touches, and it's not because he's coughing up the puck. They're meaningful. It's leading to passing plays and extended zone time. And I'm just so happy for what this meant for the second line on the whole, in addition to just having Colton back.
I thought Casey Middlestat was where we saw the most improvement. I'm with you. I don't think it's, I'm not saying, all right, Casey Middlestat's back, everything's solved. He picked up a secondary assist, but I'm with you. I thought he looked more engaged. I thought he looked closer to the Casey Middlestat that we were starting to get to know at the beginning of the season. Again, not fully back there, but I thought he was close. Moving to the second period, you and I, again, at that first intermission, said you want to see the second line continue to contribute, continue to take some of the pressure off of that top line. They came out early, 2 really good shifts. And the second one, Ross Colton draws a penalty. And Megan, the power play wasn't like abysmal to watch. It wasn't painful to look at. And not only that, but they find a way to get a goal. How big was it for the Avs to get that going on their lone power play of the night?
Can you hear me okay? It's
yes,
coming
there
in
you
a
are.
little choppy. Okay. It was
back.
coming in a little choppy, and I didn't want to make the greatest point that's ever been made on a hockey podcast and have it cut out.
I knew that's what you were winding up for, so.
I was winding up for it, and I didn't want to wait too long and hold on to the puck for too long and give the team too much time and space to counter what I'm doing. The Avs power play made small adjustments in tonight's game, and it rewarded them. I also think they capitalized on a weak penalty kill on behalf of Detroit. And that's not to take away from how this can still be a confidence booster for that top unit, but they needed this. They needed this so badly. In addition to Casey Middlestat needing that secondary assist to get that monkey off his back, it was a really good get-right game with these little storylines interwoven inside of it. I think that top unit has more to give, and they're just getting back on track, but goodness, they needed this so badly.
Like you said, just some type of feather in that cap to help get a little bit of momentum going, because they do need that. Power play's got a long way to go. But second period, strong power play. I thought an equally strong penalty kill. The Avs able to, push that lead to 2 goals. And I thought really the second period was where they started to build, started to really kind of get better. The offense wasn't quite there yet. It felt like a shame when the Red Wings were able to get one kind of late in that second period to make it a 2-1 game. Felt like the Avs maybe deserved a little bit better fate than that. But at the same time, you and I both remarked in that second intermission that Detroit had gotten too many looks, too much of a push there near the end. You could kind of feel that goal coming, and that was what was causing us to say they got to clean things up here heading into the third. Your thoughts on not only that penalty kill coming up big for the Avs, but then the way that they finish that finish that second, which was casting a little bit of doubt for you and I during that intermission.
In hindsight, winning the special teams battle is crucial because Detroit, though a weak penalty killing team, a very good power play team. And so that kill is especially huge from Colorado, especially on the heels of a game where it cost them in ways.
Yeah.
Both the power play and PK cost them. But it is worth noting that having a good kill, only allowing one scoring chance for Detroit's end, absolutely plays a part in laying the foundation to lock things down in the third period, because they did a lot of good things defensively outside this, but Detroit was pushing hard, and that's why they come away with the shots battle lead coming out of that second period, giving Colorado a lot to clean up and shut down moving into that third period. And they did just that, and I absolutely believe you can derive momentum from a penalty kill, and I think having both special teams going absolutely gives this team a good boost.
It had to have been to your point, it had to have been a boost there in that locker room to be heading into the third period perfect on special teams. Yes, it was 1-for-1 on the power play and 1-for-1 on the penalty kill, but I feel like it's been a while since we've been there. Another area that it's been a while since this team has seen this tonight at 5-on-5, Megan, an expected goals against of 2. Alexander Georgiev only gives up 1. It's been a while, I feel like, since we have seen a goaltender in a positive differential there on that, who plays a full 60, right? Obviously, Scott Wedgwood didn't give up any goals a couple nights ago in Buffalo, so clearly he came in below his expected goals against. But tonight, Alexander Georgiev plays a full 60. Thought he gave him a strong game. I thought he was their best player late in the game there, Megan, when the Red Wings had pulled their goalie after what was an otherwise, basically perfect period for the Avs. They went over 17 minutes without giving up a shot, but when they needed Alexander Georgiev late in that game, I thought he was really good. Your thoughts? We're going to talk a little bit more about how the Avs closed things out, go through a few more numbers here, but your thoughts on how Georgiev not only handled the first 2 periods where he was solid, but was able to shut things down and came up with several more big saves late in that game for the Avs.
Period by period, there were big saves for Georgiev. You go back to our intermission reports, and coming out of that first period, there were definitely some shout-outs, some DeBrincat chances, a Calvin DeHaan turnover that Georgiev had answers for. Looking at that second period, there's a huge kick save on, I want to say, Villano's opportunity.
Yep.
And I look at the team that played in front of him and the things that they did well tonight, and I can't help but feel like both of these things are related, and that the strong play of Georgiev coming out of that first period allowed Colorado to feel a little bit more confidence in what they were getting in net, and took a little pressure off that part of their game and allowed them to focus on the things that they wanted to do well on their own end. And that is the possession game, which I think was significantly better. I think there's more of a confidence to move the puck in the offensive zone without fear of things completely derailing if that puck does end up going the other way on a rush chance. They're getting some big saves, not only on that initial shot, Georgiev was absorbing pucks, but on the rebound chances too. And I think that played a huge role in this strong team performance in front of him tonight as well. And he is due his flowers in that third period in the final minutes. Several high-intensity sequences, just what I'm describing with the initial shot and then the rebound opportunity. It's Mo Seider slap shot, then a kick save on a Rasmussen backhand, and then a Larkin backhand and a kick save on a DeBrincat chance, just trying to stuff it home, all in a matter of seconds. Tons of chaos around the net front, and Georgiev's coming up with big saves, keeping in mind Detroit has that extra skater. It's really a high-pressure situation. He had resolve at net there. And knowing the Avs didn't get that empty net goal insurance a few seconds before it. So it's extra important for Georgiev to put this game away. And it almost perfectly, as if it was written to be a story, that's what Georgiev does in the final seconds.
Well, and, we mentioned a couple nights ago in Buffalo that Scott Wedgwood came in and was battling to find pucks, battling to find rebounds. I thought Georgiev was doing that tonight in that sequence that you're mentioning there near the end of the game when the Red Wings did have an empty net. Like there was 2 or 3 times where I was like, oh, that's in. That's a goal. Back of the net. We're heading to overtime. And he just kept coming up with big save after big save, hunting pucks down. And I thought it was one of his better performances of the season. Granted, he's struggled several times. So it's not been, one goal performance, not hard to put that as one of his best, but it wasn't just, he didn't just kind of coast to this victory. I thought Alexander Georgiev really had to earn it. We got a super chat here from Vaguely Sober, and this one's for you, Megan. Ceiling fan or Charlie can defy gravity and fly. What is the shadow that we're seeing in the background here?
It's a ceiling fan.
See, my money was on that the cat could fly. Let's talk about what the Avs did there in that third period. I said at the intermission, I wanted to see them push the puck north more. I wanted to see them get more involved offensively and be more of a threat. It just was not enough for me with the 2-goal lead to say you can sit back. One of the things that I remember of this Avs team from a couple of years ago, the Cup team, was that when they had a lead, you expected them to play defense, to really try to shut teams down. Well, the way they did it was by playing with the puck on their own stick, by saying, well, you can't score to tie the game if we've got it the whole time. And it felt to me like that was what the Avs did tonight. While at the same time, Megan, I thought that they remained responsible defensively. I thought they were getting back, getting in lanes. Sam Malinsky with 2 huge block shots in this game, and he wore them both hard. But again, defending hard, doing the right things, paying attention to the details, coming back. I just, like I said, I'm having a hard time finding anything really to complain about in that third period outside of maybe a 40-second window there.
I love
third period.
No, I love the Sam Malinsky call out. He had a huge block in the second period. Then again, in the third period, you could see it stung him a little bit. Kovalenko also came up a huge block in that third period.
Yes.
And that's where, okay, I don't want to deviate from my Malinsky point too soon. I thought the Sams had a good night, and the top 4 in general on the back end, huge nights. Obviously Makar getting the power play goal, but lots of puck touches, great defensive plays, and the team as a whole leads in blocked shot attempts to counter some of what Detroit was trying to do offensively. Big night from the Sams, in my opinion.
Yep.
A couple of giveaways that they get added to their stat sheet, but I actually think defensively they played very responsibly together, and just a big night from them. But before now I can move on from the standpoint, Kovalenko, his block shot. This is maybe the only consequence of Ross Colton's return. Kovalenko was kind of buried
bumped
in
down
these fourth line minutes because that third line kind of stayed intact as this OC, Kivy, Ronta, Kelly line. And I don't dislike it. They were really defensively responsible. But I don't like what it meant for Kovalenko, whose game has been trending in the right direction.
I'm with you on that.
Things. And I don't even think the fourth line has a bad night, but they were sheltered. You just don't fully trust Ivan and Chris Wagner, even though they've both done really great things for this team who's been so depleted. I think Kovalenko, I want to see some kind of path to getting him more opportunity past this game, because he is a player that was doing so well for them lately. I don't want to see him get buried in this.
I'm with you. We've talked about his game trending in the right direction. And usually you get Ross Colton back and it kind of bumps everyone down and you feel a little bit better usually about where everyone's at. Not that I don't feel like, Kovalenko is a bona fide, top 6 guy. It's a travesty to see him down there. But yeah, it is a shame because that he is a player that does seem to be getting a little bit more comfortable, trusting his instincts just a little bit more, making plays, willing to kind of push the pace a little bit. You don't want to see him get completely overshadowed. But at the same time, to your point, I thought he found a way to remain effective despite limited minutes and a lesser role.
This was therapeutic because as we're talking through it together, I realized that Bednar does sort of challenge Kovalenko specifically in this way. Like, all right, what can you do? Like, you can succeed in the Avs top 6. You can hang with Mikko Rantanen and Nathan McKinnon. If I give you more of a depth role, can you still find success, find ways to be noticeable in more sheltered minutes? And I think it's a challenge for Kovalenko, but I don't think it's a permanent one and one that he can't overcome.
Well, and again, I go back to your conversation at the start of the year with Brian Wilsey, one of the Avs heads of player development. And, he talked about one of the main keys for the Eagles, the Colorado Eagles, the Avs American League affiliate, is to make sure that players are prepared to go to the NHL level and play in whatever role is available to them. Yeah, it'd be really nice to be able to, if you're a top 6 guy, that's what your skill set favors. Yeah, it'd be really nice to just be able to only do that and be able to jump straight into that at the NHL level. That may not always be the role it's available to you. And like you said, the Jared Bednar challenging him part of this. You want to see how Kovalenko does. All right, we're going to limit your minutes. We're going to put you with some more meat and potatoes. Guys, can you continue to be effective, or do you need high-end wingers to be an effective play, shot generator, play driver, et cetera, whatever word you want to use. So I'm going to be curious to see how Kovalenko does. Megan, any other thoughts from you before we go over to the questions? You put out the call for questions on Twitter. We're going to, as we always do, run through a few of those. Any other thoughts on what we saw from the Avs tonight? Overall, I think this is a really good performance. I think you got to be happy with what they did here tonight.
Absolutely. No other thoughts. Just happy they did it in regulation, so hopefully they can get a little more rest ahead of tomorrow.
And you know what? I'm actually going to change the order on myself here. I wanted to go to this comment because I actually disagree with this a little bit. Happy about the result, but if they play like that against New Jersey tomorrow, we are in trouble. I definitely think they need to be better. The offense needs to be more dangerous. But I thought there were a lot of things that you could take out of tonight and say, if you can do that again tomorrow, if you can repeat versions of that third period, knowing that you're not going to hold the Devils to no shots for an entire game. But that third period, I think, is kind of a blueprint for what you want to do, where you remain dangerous offensively while being responsible in your own end. If you can take that in tomorrow, I actually think you're feeling pretty good.
I think the only thing I'm a little worried about is a lot of their success tonight still relied on a strong goaltending performance.
Totally.
I don't know what they're going to get tomorrow. I'm assuming they're going to Wedgwood, but there's this part of me that because they started Georgiev and they've done Georgiev back-to-backs before, would they return to Georgiev tomorrow night?
I believe Jared did say this morning that it is going to be Wedgie tomorrow.
Okay, makes me feel a little better with confirmation it's the rested goaltender. I don't know, this is what's frustrating about Georgiev is his good performances, that high ceiling. Not every goaltender has, like Scott Wedgwood's ceiling isn't the same as Georgiev's.
Right.
I don't know. They can't rely on goaltending quite the same way that they did tonight. They still did a lot of things well to make life easier for them. But to your point in needing to be a little more dangerous offensively, I think that will be the key and the most realistic thing that they can do differently tomorrow, just to give themselves a little bit more insurance against what is a very good New Jersey team. And even that's going to be challenging because you're looking at a team that is going to be on the second leg of a back-to-back, probably doesn't fully have their legs underneath them. I think the part that is repeatable, though, is you look at Nathan MacKinnon's time on ice, it's actually still pretty comparable to what we've seen, but it still feels like the whole of everybody's usage was a little bit down, and that's better for everyone. So I think that's the part that's different from games before, and having Ross Colton back is they can keep minutes down a little bit and rotate in a Kovalenko. He could spot shift on a couple of those lines higher in the lineup as needed, and I think that's going to be maybe something they rely on tomorrow as well.
Minutes were similar, but I'm with you. The minutes didn't quite feel as harsh for Nathan MacKinnon here tonight. All right, going to go to a few questions here from Katie. What adjustment does the top line need to make to improve their possession numbers as they look to a tougher opponent in New Jersey tomorrow? Like I said, not kind of a cop-out answer. More of what we saw in the third. That is the blueprint for this team. Smart, responsible on the defensive side. Leads to having the puck on your stick more, being able to move the puck up ice. I also thought they got up and out of their zone better tonight, Megan. But Nathan MacKinnon, I want to see him hitting that offensive blue line with more speed, with the puck on his stick, holding on to that puck a little bit and making himself more dangerous. Thought they took a step in the right direction tonight. What did you think?
I agree. I think Arturi Lekkonen's game specifically wasn't really going tonight. And that not going to single-handedly blame him for some of the lack of conversion from that top line. But I do think Arturi Lehkonen's the type of player that I don't think has bad games very often. I don't know if bad is the right word. It just felt like offense died a little bit on his stick.
Mm-hmm.
That's maybe where I'm looking to adjustment on the top line is I want to see just a little bit more connectedness. I think it's trending in the right direction to your point, especially by comparison to the Carolina game. But I think there's more room to grow. I still feel like they're trying to figure out what works there on that top line too. And Lehkonen, even similarly, like in talking about maybe what hasn't gone well on the top power play unit as of late, I feel like he hasn't quite found his stride on the top line, on the top power play unit. And he's a player that I don't get too worried about, though, just because of everything that he is, the hard worker that he is, where the work ethic is. And when this team finds himself in trouble, it's for mistakes that Arturi Lehkonen usually isn't guilty of. So I'm just hoping he has a better game tomorrow. I think that will instantly improve the results of the top line.
Yeah. Like we mentioned earlier as well, having Casey Middlestat, Val Nichushkin, and Ross Colton maybe makes you feel a little bit better that this top six will be able to get a little bit more cohesion. From Abby, overall, I'm very happy with how this game went, and I'm very pleased with Georgiev's performance, and I'm happy they won because Georgie deserved that win 1,000%. Don't know if we need to say too much here, but this was definitely a night, Megan. He gets the big hat in the locker room. This was a night that Alexander Georgiev needed, and really, take a step beyond Georgiev, the Avs needed it to feel good about a couple guys they've gotten net.
I think they needed it to feel good about Georgiev, that he is still a goaltender they can turn to in big moments. And I think they needed it for the power play and for Casey Middlestat, and just kind of generally that second line to see, oh, wow, this is a viable option. It doesn't just have to hinge solely on that top line. So I think there's a couple huge takeaways from this, but with Georgiev, knowing how much of this game is mental for him and how there's so much talk right now around Avs and the goaltending situation. Yep. You listen to the broadcast for Detroit tonight, it's all they could talk about every second, just how bad the goaltending in Colorado has been. And I feel almost bad because that kind of noise is probably around Georgiev too, as much as he tries to tune it out. And I think it helps to quiet it a little bit to have not only a great performance, but come out with the win and play a big part in it.
Yeah, I'm with you. Anytime Georgiev made a save, they're like, whoa, that's not what we're used to seeing out of Georgiev this year. Got another super chat here, Megan. This one from Josh. You guys are awesome. Appreciate the work you put in. Go Avs. We appreciate it, guys. We have so much fun doing this and bringing this to you guys. So thank you so much, Josh. You're the best. $5, $5 Canadian from Josh here. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. Megan, next question here. Got two more for you, and then we'll jump out of here for the night. Did the second line show flashes of something that was chemistry adjacent? I don't know if it was chemistry adjacent, but I thought that was a nice mix. I thought Ross Colton, Val Nichushkin were exactly the type of players you want Casey Middlestat playing with. Your thoughts?
Oh, I'm ready to call it full-blown chemistry.
Let's do it.
You know, it's not accidental that Casey Middlestat has a better game. And some of the reasons he has a better game is he has support. And it's not that the support hasn't been there. You know, he's been playing with Val Nichushkin, but you could see him get rushed when he has the puck behind the goal line. And there was so much more calm in where he sent that puck because he saw that he had reinforcement and he trusted it and leaned on his teammates and he was finding them. Passes were connecting. And then similarly, Nichushkin and Ross Colton were finding each other amidst the chaos inside home plate. Absolutely, I think there is chemistry on this line. And I do think energy is a huge part of it. Like, I think Ross Colton brings positive vibes and it brought the mood up of the whole line.
I think you're right. I think he's like Wedgwood. He's just a good guy to have in the locker room. Just a good presence to have around. Help keeps those vibes up when things aren't going well. We'll round it out here, Megan. On the night, Avs get a 2-1 win. I got one more question for you. And honestly, it's an interesting one because I wasn't expecting to like their game that much. But I thought they were all right. I'm going to get this last question to you after I tell you about our good friends over at Trusted American. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. How would you like to get through the holidays without having to make your mortgage payment? Go to trustedamerican.com or scan that QR code on the screen. See how they can help you refinance your home and not have to make any payments until February. Again, trustedamerican.com, or just go follow that QR code on the screen. Megan, one of your favorites, one of our more loyal listeners around, Miss Truly, with a $5 super chat. Vibes. This was a vibes night between Ross Colton. The really solid game start to finish. Georgie feeling it. It's a vibes night, Megan. Big time. Big shout out to Miss Truly. Great supporter of ours here on the pod. Friend of the pod. Megan, last question. Middleton added some much needed toughness, and he played very well. Smart clears, no big blunders. Can he play a role on this team? I don't see a role for him once the Avs are all healthy on D, but we need his presence to help toughen our identity. I thought he was good. No complaints on my side from Keaton Middleton. Two plays in particular where I saw him intentionally getting involved. One, he was leading a rush. Another made just a nice little outlet pass to get the puck up and out. Don't see a fit for Keaton Middleton once the Avs get one of their Oliver Shillington, Josh Manson, one of their bodies back. But I thought for a plug-in tonight in favor of John Ludwig, thought he was good.
I did too. And I've been skeptical of Middleton's fit up with the big club just because of what I've seen in very limited showings in the past and what I know his role to be with the Eagles. I just wasn't sure his game would translate well to what Colorado does so well in their transition play and their reliance on speed. But he fit in tonight, registers 2 shots on that. So getting involved in some of the offensive play, he absolutely brings energy, I think, is a fair point. And I think the key difference maker that is even a little validating to what we talked about after the Carolina game is his toughness. He is going to be a punishing player to be opposite of and make anything inside home plate in his own end very difficult to get to, and you're going to pay a price if you decide to be there. You know, I like that physical aspect, and it does up the toughness because I thought the Avs were a little soft in the Carolina game, so they did need a little bit of grit added back tonight. To your point, I don't know about the future fit once guys get a little bit healthy. I think Ludwig is as advertised and is a similar type of player, and we just haven't even really gotten to see everything we have in him. But I like what Keaton Middleton has done being the guy they call up in the depth chart, especially compared to past showings.
I thought he was good. Like you said, I thought he exceeded expectations based on what we'd seen from him in the past. Particularly, there was a play in the corner against Alex DeBrincat. He just shut it down. You could tell that it was even a little jarring for DeBrincat. Megan, I think that's going to do it for tonight. You and I are right back at it tomorrow. The Avs are taking on the New Jersey Devils. We'll be back in studio for everything, same as what we did here tonight. So we will talk to you guys then. Megan, any final thoughts on the night? Avs take this one 2-1. They win that low-scoring game.
I have a question. It's kind of based on Abby's comment about that kind of skirmish where guys fell on top of Mikko and left men along the wall. And Mikko goes back to the bench and he's having a really animated conversation, but it feels like it's about something totally different.
Yeah.
Did you have any opinion or observation on that?
So to me, that the conversation on the bench looked like it was about something else for sure. So I'm not 100% certain. It looked to me, based on how animated he was, that there was something that he wanted somebody to do earlier in a shift that there was a miscommunication on. So he was making sure that didn't happen again. But no, I don't think that was related to the collision, which worried me a little bit because he hit his back pretty hard, but kept his head from hitting the ice.
I actually even feel like he was angry about the collision and just kind of came back to the bench, heated, and was like, well, actually. And now that I think about it, and was just kind of upset.
Now that my back hurts, I am pissed about this. Yeah.
I'm pissed about something else. And I wasn't going to say anything, but now I'm mad, so I will.
So I will say something. All right, Megan, as always, love doing this with you. Love chatting Avs, especially after a solid game like that Third period maybe felt a little bit boring, but that was what the Avs needed. Good win here tonight, 2-1. We said they couldn't come out of this weekend without points of some kind. They couldn't go 0-for on this back-to-back. Off to a good start. We'll see what they do tomorrow in New Jersey. She's Meghan Angley. I'm Jesse Montano's Guerilla Sports Off Ice post-game live. We'll be back at it tomorrow for you guys. Thanks so much for tuning in. Thank you guys for all of our super chats. Everyone tuning in, listening, more than 1,000 of you guys in here, so we really, really appreciate it. Guerrilla Sports Off Ice, presented by Trusted American Mortgage. We'll talk to you tomorrow.